And then what happened to the music?
Nje kanjalo nje, just
DJ Just.
uyazazi ndoda FM, you know, back in the day, you with TDK bese DJ akhulume phezu kweculo engakapheli.
Dude, did you know that I used to be on radio, by the way?
Oh, okay. Which station?
Yeah. It was a regional, actually provincial. Well, it covers pretty much a lot of the KZN. It was called FM because it's still up and running. So I was running business show, and then from there it was later on midday show, and then the last time I left, I was doing a breakfast show. So yeah, I was 3-4 years man of radio. So.
When you were mentioning the radio station name,
it's a Kora FM, brother. Kora FM. It's I think second biggest community radio in KZN last time I checked. So.
Okay. All right. Feel free to drop other bombs, ne?
I know.
How are you keeping up, Ndota? And how have you been with everything that's happening at KZN?
Man, like it's been crazy. Anxiety, because last year we went through riots, lootings, which affected the economy, affected our businesses. And so when this happened again, and I'm like, oh my goodness, there we go again, because the damage was just massive. I know there's a debate whether it was in the damage is in billions or in trillions. We won't get into that, but one thing for sure is that it is massive. It is massive. So the after effect will be felt for a very long time, and condolences to those who have lost their loved ones, who have lost friends in the process. So yeah, but it's been hectic. But with the beat, you gotta go on, and so that's just the thing.
That's the thing, right? Yeah. No. Anyway, thanks. I like the name there. A robot with soul.
Just fits perfectly with the theme.
At least by anyway, thanks to everyone that has joined us so far. Ngihleli nomfowabo kwamageba ke namhlanje uLanga Elihle Zulu. I suppose this is where imbongi ingena khona ke.
Please.
Thanks for joining me and agreeing to hook up with me next time. The long-term plan for me is that these need to be face-to-face.
That's great, man. No, thank you so much for it's honestly an honor and a privilege, to be hanging out with a great mover and shaker and disruptor like yourself. I think you're one of the few black guys that one would look at, because when we started this thing, I think the generation that's really doing great today started pretty much at the same time. Maboski Nisbu, your Celebuchos, like it's a lot of us started pretty much around 2015, 2016. It was around about that time, and it was really difficult for you to get a local inspiration apart from the BE beneficiaries, which you cannot really look to that for inspiration. So one at the time was longing for authentic and real life stories of entrepreneurs who have built, you know, from virtually nothing, no connections, no trust funds, you know. So you're one of those people. I'm not sure. Maybe you could be a trust fund baby, but yeah, you know. So yeah, man. But yeah, your work. Your work is impactful in our communities and in our economy. I don't know. We are still yet. I think BrownSense still needs to release a report as to the economic impact, you know, and the figures of you know, a movement like BrownSense and what it has done to shift the perspective and the narrative. And yeah, man, yeah, props to you and your team and all that you have done so far.
Yeah, thanks, man. Thank you for your kind words. I think the old me would have been like resistant and say in and all that. But you know what? One thing I've learned over the years is to be receptive. You know, these are kind, encouraging, constructive words. Not saying that you know, one is not accepting of criticism or being shown ukuthi hayi ndoda manje sowuthathe i-wrong turn, you know. But it's really encouraging. It's really encouraging, yabo. Again, thank you for joining me. And I think maybe, you know, by way of introduction, from your side, who is Langa Elihle Zulu, or a robot with soul? A robot with soul. Ngipronounce kahle ngathi isilungu sami sithanda
No, yeah, man, you're doing just
yeah.
You know, you're doing justice, man. I always, you know, when I watch interview, I watch a lot of interviews, by the way. And when they say, okay, please introduce yourself, who? And I'm like, yo, this is probably the moment where I struggle because I don't know how to respond to that. But just to give a brief of a background, my story has been, you know, is full of twists and turns, lots of them, plenty, detours, U-turns, you know, like you name it, so but my background is I come from it's a township, not so big, it's called Elihle. You know, it's one of the biggest in the Zululand region, which I think was formulated or founded in 1976, which is a significant year in South African history. But yeah, fast forward to my, you know, just my primary school years and the kind of thing, or high school. Actually, my inspiration was actually at primary, because we're watching a lot of movies. Terminator is a big inspiration of mine, and hence also made this robot with soul, because it introduced artificial intelligence. It introduced robots, or the concept of robotics and smart technologies back then, you know, and it was such a fascinating thing. Terminator 2 in particular, it was such a fascinating concept for me. But fast forward, okay, and then after that, high school, I went to a technical school, which also I think was great, because I did electronics, I did technical drawing, which as you know, is becoming, you know, such a big part of my life today. But my passion has always been music. My passion has always been sound, and hence after high school, as much as I was good in math, I was like, no ways, I'm not going to continue with this. Then I went to do sound engineering at SAPC, at the Academy of Sound Engineering. And then after that, I joined the Roadies station in Newtown, THROWBACK, where I was doing sound, live sound, staging, events management, you know. So I worked largely in the production environment, and I love live production. I still do until this very day. So I worked for a number of years up until 2010, the World Cup. And then that's when I lost my job. And then after that, then I had to dig deep within me to say, you know, who am I? What are my passions? What really moves me? And one of the things that I knew moves me, again, since I was very young, is education and politics. And politics is because my father, he would throw would buy 3 newspapers every day. I'd read so much, like Zulu, English newspapers, Sunday Times on a Sunday, City Press. I'd read, and he would watch a lot of current affairs, which I would be forced to watch as well. So politics has been, I've been such a, not necessarily party politics, but just politics in general, or geopolitics has been such a big influence and it's a passion of mine. So then I went to the university after that to do education, and that's when I met actually my business partner now. Since then we joined United Nations programs, doing community work. So my passion again, community work, economic development, opening access to the economy. One of the things that really drive me as a person, opening up access, opportunities, growth, development, personal development, and look, how do we, change the narrative? How do we, change the game? How do we build sustainable businesses? We grew up with a lot of enterprises, township enterprises, Black enterprises, but a lot of those are gone today. So the question is, what do we do differently today so that we can, avoid that situation and that scenario? What can we do today so that if you're driving on the M1, on the M1 highway, there's a lot of, enterprises on the side. There's a lot of big companies on the side. How many of those are Black? So I'd always, question myself, in THROWBACK and looking at these big companies, big offices and big office parks. And it's like, how many are Black, and how many do I relate to? How many of these stories do I relate to? So it's one of the things that has really been a driving force for me as a person. I've got a lot of passions, as I said, with music, sound, production, community development, technology, you name it.
Well, that's really interesting. You seem to have had a very clear focus from an early age. Obviously, I don't know how old you are, but I mean, you sound like, judging by from a technical school, varsity, and so forth. What would you say is the one thing maybe that helped you to have that kind of a focus, where maybe someone or other people your age, or if that was how did you find a way to navigate back on track and eye on the goal?
A great question, man. I think it's my parents, man. Come from a really stable family, modest, very loving. My father is super strict. My mother is super strict. So I couldn't dare touch alcohol, touch cigarettes. If there was niggas smoking, I'd play far away from them. And even worse, my mom is in education. She was working at a school. I mean, she was a teacher, so, and very close, so the teachers even at primary knew her, in as much as she was at a school opposite my primary school, but they knew her very well. So the teachers just knew me, every teacher knew me, so I couldn't do much. Even worse, I went to high school. That's where my mom worked. I couldn't do much because my mom is not. If I do something, then the teachers are like, "Yeah, you're gonna, So I was. So I think I had the, big brother was just all over, for me. So always just watching over me. So I couldn't do much. So I think that helped me. Later on, I think at varsity, had really a bad stint, maybe 3-4 years with friends, because of the entertainment thing, the DJing thing, music thing. I think that kind of really pushed me on towards the other side. But I quickly realized that actually I need to start cutting off, people who are not really, super focused as much as I am or where I'm going. So I started really cutting off a lot of, the niggas I grew up with. And went back on track. And because also the kind of work that I do, you really have to, your reputation is everything. You cannot be talking and preaching about economic development, about transformation, about personal development, and about growth and about all of that. And then on the other side, you're popping bottles and you're posting boosts, on your Instagram, and you're rolling with girls and stuff like that. It just for me, that I find that problematic. So for me, I want consistency in that what I do in my personal space is what I should be doing in public and things like that. So
yeah. No, that's very profound. I can relate to the being underwatched type thing, because although mina when it was more like my father worked in Lokshin, so Mansekai, there was not a free for all type of a situation happening, because anytime this guy shows up, like I was positive, then he goes, I lunch. Then I was like, I can't really plan ahead to like tomorrow those ban, this is what's gonna happen or whatever. So
oh damn, man.
like, you don't even bother to plan anything.
That's another thing. That's why, because it was the same for me as well. Because parents are always on Babuya, Edambama, Spani, weekends, maybe going to church and then they're back. But literally, they're always at home. So there's never been a case of Bahambile and then they say for the weekend. They're all like growing up. There's none of that. So in that situation.
No, that's clever. You met your business partner. You say it's still your current partner now, Varsity. What got you guys, drawn to each other, and then sort of get your minds together with business is the way to go?
Man. So when I got to Varsity, because I think he got a year before me, he was already pushing the United Nations work. There's an organization called United Nations Association, which is essentially a student society of United Nations Association, which obviously is focusing on United Nations work. So what happened was when I got to university, I quickly got bored. I think in a year I would realize that actually doing education, as much as I love education, but this approach that they are taking in terms of the curriculum and the approach ain't it. I don't want to find myself in class, because I know for sure that I'm not going to deliver to the best of my abilities. So I quickly I started finding a way out of that situation. And there I was seeing a poster. They were recruiting and they wanted an events coordinator. And I'm seeing a United Nations logo and I'm like, damn, this must be legit. This, United Nations, because again, I grew up, watching news, reading newspapers. So I knew the United Nations and how big it is as an organization and as a brand. So when I saw that, like, I'm definitely going to apply as an events coordinator. So I went through, applied. They took me in as a student, started working, coordinating programs, but quickly, I think a month down the line, actually, there was going to be elections. So then I was elected as secretary, and then he was elected as chairperson, and that's how we started forging our business relationship. We took that organization from, virtually nothing, and we made it great because of the innovative programs and approach that we came up with. Very disruptive. We were always in trouble at the university because the powers that be would give them, trouble, inviting big shots and high profile people and all of that stuff, putting together. Sorry, man. Can I just make sure that the laptop is charged?
Sure.
Okay. Sorry. Yeah. So we're busy pushing that. We're busy pushing, proposals, kind of thing. So, but we quickly reached the ceiling at the university because of the bureaucracy and a lot of limitations at university. Lots of politics. If you know, obviously you know KZN is very political. So pretty much everything that you do, you quickly find yourself in the political spectrum. It's like, oh, I thought I'm doing community development. I thought I'm doing technology. Suddenly, there's a whole lot of politics, into it. We got frustrated, and then we were like, okay, we gotta establish something outside of the university. It's gotta be a social movement. It's gotta be a youth movement. And then we went outside. We established a youth foundation. Again, we started pushing those programs in Ekasi, pushing. So it had like different focuses. There was like arts, there was like sports, there was entrepreneurship,
Okay.
There was education, so that blueprint, basically, we developed a 10-year strategy, 2014 to 2024, for our region to say, okay, these are the things that we should do in these sectors so that we can start to see progress. If, for example, in the case of arts, if we're looking at artists and creatives in the hood, what are the programs that are there so that we can groom the talent and ensure that we can produce your AKAs, your Nastices in numbers? What about the business aspect? What about copyright, intellectual property? Who's talking about that? What about training them from a technical, standpoint, making sure that their performances, their writing abilities, their production is of a standard, their branding, that kind of thing. So we started pushing those kind of things, open mic sessions, just to get them, out there, placing them, so again, we quickly got into trouble with the political, guys, because I think they were like, youth movement, this thing is quickly gaining traction. And then, so then we're like, okay, what do we do now? We're getting threats, so we're forced outside the hood. We're forced outside the hood. And then we're like, man, screw this thing. Let's just start a for-profit business. My passion was media and digital media. So I did extensive research just again. This was 2014. I'm looking at the changes within the media sector and the changes that are to happen. Netflix, they were studying those conventions like that Apple TV and that kind of thing. So I quickly, realized that actually this is the shift that is happening. So again, what is being done to tell our stories in our townships? So one of my actually startup at the time was called Lifestyle ZA, which was Lifestyle South Africa, which is essentially capturing great things that are happening in townships and black spaces. So my parents gave me a small loan and I bought some equipment, like cameras and stuff. So I would go around and capturing when there's events and doing interviews. Actually, that is still on YouTube, by the way. I'm gonna link you up to it. Great events, whether it's municipality, economic development, whether it's entertainment thing, going around capturing interviews and kind of thing and putting up on the net. Essentially, what we're doing is we're building a digital TV. So that is going to essentially, the idea was that each and every hood, we should have, these platforms where it's like Soweto, it's Ngazi, kind of thing, and you have all of these, ground forces who are capturing the great things that are happening. And it, as it builds up, then suddenly it starts to retell or reposition black spaces. And when people are searching, they're trying to, what's popping, so it's what's popping, people, oh man, okay, it's not, this place is not what we think it is, and kind of thing. Wait a minute, there's so much greatness that is happening in this, but no one is telling these stories because the media is just focusing on telling, the bad stories, So the media platform was such. So build it up. And then again, I hit up, Tseho, like, oh man, because he's a coder, he's a background, he's a software engineer. I mean, I'm coming from a media background and obviously community development. Let us merge this thing and we build one company that is then going to focus on tech as well as digital media. And that's how we forged Algorithm Lab. So actually we do a measure, and then that's actually how our journey into technology and digital media started.
Wow. Just say it slowly. You said it's Algoa at.
Okay, so let me just explain this. So initially, there's two organizations. There's two organizations here. It's Algorithm Lab, Algorithm Lab. So essentially, algo from algorithm, from mathematics, and then there's the rhythm, which essentially is about me, rhythmic elements, and the creative aspect, which is me. Algorithm, the mathematics is him because he's a software engineer and a coder. And that was Algorithm Lab. And then there's AlgoAtWork, which is that's our non-profit. So Algorithm Lab is a for-profit, and then AlgoAtWork is a non-profit, which is focusing solely on education for the underprivileged communities, technology education for the underprivileged community. So
Sure. Before we go into that, I want to pull you back. You mentioned something when you were doing the non-profit election before you guys got threatened and all that. And this is, I'm just trying to frame the question, right? So you did that as a non-profit,
Correct.
and then you attract attention wrong. They threaten you. You guys are like, you know what, this is not what we've signed up for. Let's do a for-profit and move out of this space. Yeah?
Correct.
And I've been watching a few conversations online, right, where there's some people that criticize capitalism. Actually, there's a post I came across where there's a meme actually. If there was one thing only remover from the world, what is it? And it lists a few things. Capitalism is one of them, and then this lady says that's what she'll take out. How do you see such things? You know, like when you like taking into account that you moved into the township space to build and to create that movement that you were building, but as a non-profit, Napuma, then you kind of reinvented, but as a for-profit. Yet nonetheless, it sounds like the end result is also for the benefit of the the community, but this time it's a for-profit
Correct.
vehicle. I don't know if you're getting my line of thought, but do you see any conflict between the two? Do you find any conflicts maybe within yourself? Maybe not now, but back then, maybe I'm selling out now. So I'm gonna be capitalism or whatever it is. How do you see such things?
Man, these things, you know, I think
Excuse me.
people get caught up in buzzwords or terminologies or concepts, you know, such that there is a lot of non-profits, by the way, that are for capitalistic interests, and we know them, you know, where people are just, you know, using those tools to amass wealth for themselves. They're using non-profit, you know, structures. Bafaka ama-proposal, ingene imali, ziyadliwa imali. It happens a lot. It has happened so much, you know.
Internationally,
Yeah, internationally, locally, even. We know people who are driving effing cars because of such, you know. So, and then on the other hand, you've got a for-profit you know, structure with a social component that is doing so much, you know, sustainable development for society or for communities. Then what do you say to that, you know? So that's why I'm saying at the end of the day, structures are structures and systems are systems, but at the end of the day, there's people driving these systems, there's people influencing these systems, you know. I could be in a for-profit structure, and when the profit comes in, I take all of it, I reinvest it, you know, for community development. What do you say to that? You know, I could be in a non-profit structure. When the funding comes in for community development purposes, I take it and I go, I buy you know, a big SUV. What do you say to that? You know, so in the end, it's about the people and their ideologies and what do they believe in, what moves them, what is their purpose, and I think that's what we need to focus on. And we leave the rest to the universe.
That's so profound. Okay, that's great. So tell us about your work as AlgoAtWork, ne? That's the academy side.
Correct. So you're interested in the academy?
No, hold on, am I confusing them? The academy AlgoAtWork, I need.
Yeah, it's AlgoAtWork, man. So essentially, that's how it started. Was through a hashtag. It was meant algorithm at work. Actually, it was just like short for algorithm at work. So yeah, hence AlgoAtWork Robotics Academy. So here's what happened. The United Nations element, which is United Nations at the time when we started, we're pushing Millennium Development Goals, and it later was then Sustainable Development Goals. So that philosophy, that school of thought, never left as much as we left the organization, but that philosophy has always been with us. So essentially, everything that we've done after that has always been about sustainable development, component to it. And hence, as much as we're pushing a for-profit, but it was like it had a large social element to it, and hence we would consider ourselves social entrepreneurs. So what happened was 2017, Man of Trash, #ManOfTrash, was a spike in human trafficking, women abuse in South Africa. Human trafficking has always been happening for the longest of time. But I guess for some reason, 2017, we had a lot of those cases being reported. We were, paranoid, for our sisters, for our women in our lives and that kind of thing. So then we responded with a virtual panic button solution. So we sat through, we developed an app. Few days later, it was done. We took it, we launched it on the Google Play Store on the 1st of June, and then it went viral. Everyone was literally talking about it. The media was calling us for interviews and that kind of thing, which was great and all. But I think that social element again was evident in us at that time, because here we are launching a digital solution for free. Essentially, the app was, if you are in danger as a woman, you tap the screen, then it's going to trigger alerts, and it sends SMSs for free to your loved ones with your GPS coordinates, so that they can follow you and track you if you are being human trafficked. That was essentially the solution. And so the university that we are from, which is the University of Zululand Computer Sciences Department, picked this up, and they were like, yo, Tsecha, which is my business partner, you're doing amazing work. Would you guys be keen on a public-private partnership where you guys mentor our computer sciences undergraduates, so that they can also, develop solutions. They can also start their startup, companies, and we can retain talent, because Zululand has a problem of talent exiting the region once they're done. They're working in Joburg, they're working in Cape Town and things like that. So we jumped on into that. We're like, for sure, because the education curriculum has always been a frustration. I dropped out because of that. He dropped out because of that, because we're frustrated with the education system and the approach. That it's a dated approach. It no longer serves us as society, and you do not gain knowledge and open-mindedness and the complex problem-solving ability, the critical thinking. So education as it is lacks that element. So we jumped in so that we could reshape curriculum. And then we started working with the undergrads, doing hackathons, bringing in entrepreneurs, business leaders for masterclasses, so that we can influence this group, of youngsters. So 3 years later, though, we realized that the impact that we're looking for was not as great, in as much as, we do have a few working for your Amazons and your CSIRs, but the impact that we're looking for was not there. And then again, we went to do research to understand exactly why did we not get the results, the intended results. And actually we realized that if you are to influence a society or a generation, or actually a human being, you need to do that in their first 10 years of life. Because if you're an adult, pretty much 70 to 90% of the decisions that you take and your lifestyle and your influences come from your first 10 years of life.
Wow.
Which was a fascinating study and research. And Dr. Bruce Lipton, one of my, great, guys that and philosophers and, would speak so, with clarity on that subject. So then we realized that if we are to meaningfully transform society and ensure that we usher in the next generation that is going to transform this current economy and the socioeconomics, we need to intentionally invest heavily in children, because children, without the barriers and the fear and the boundaries that adults have, they don't know about politics, they don't fear death, they don't fear a lot of things, they don't fear trying things out. They don't fear failing, so it's quite a lot. So then we had to then establish an institution that is going to work with children. We regard children as light bearers. They already possess a lot of the knowledge, a lot of the potential. They've got gifts that we then kill by through the education system. So we have to preserve that. We have to protect them. We have to protect, their godliness, and ensure that they, through what they have, their curiosity, their creativity, their critical thinking, when they ask questions, and we discourage that at home. Parents discourage their children from asking difficult questions, which is a problem. Teachers discourage learners from asking difficult questions because they don't want to be challenged. So that is a problem. So the academy is therefore an institution to protect children, so that we can say, what are their gifts? Can we identify them early? What is their purpose? What do they intend to do on this planet Earth? And then can we channel those gifts and that purpose and those passions so that they can do good for society?
Wow. That's really powerful. So how long has the academy been running for?
So that was we started in 2019. Started with a group of, I think, 10 children. We were blessed with parents who believed in this dream, because we didn't even have a curriculum. We didn't have anything. We just put a poster out there. We said, if you want your child to do coding, come through. In Richards Bay. Funny enough, we started proposing coding in schools in 2014, by the way. And principals were like, no ways. What is that even? The kids are going to break computers and all of that. So we had to relook that. And then actually it was in 2018, late 2018. That's when we really started, opening up. But it really took off in 2019.
Sure.
And then from, end of 2019, then we developed a curriculum that we refer to, in as much as we don't follow each and every step, because again, you're dealing with human beings with different passions and different focuses. So we always give them that space. It's very individualistic, approach that we took to say, what do you want to do? What are your passions? What is one problem that you identify in society? And they say, social distancing. Okay, cool. What do you think? How can you use technology to solve this problem? How can you use these sensors that you have, how can you use coding to respond to this challenge that you have identified? We don't identify it for you, and so it's been amazing. Currently, the Teenage Entrepreneur of the Year, it comes from our academy.
Wow.
Through the Student Advancement for Global Entrepreneurship program. He got funding for about 20,000 Rand to continue working on his prototype. He is solving plastic sorting for recycling. He's built a conveyor belt, color sorter, that is going to essentially sort, plastics. That's what he's working on. Alex Dot is his name. And then we also put them through University of Free State Business School. So some of them have got NQF level 5 right now in entrepreneurship. Doing business model canvas, focusing on the business aspect of their social solutions. Because one of the things that we're now taking them through to say, you need to now think about the business aspect. How can you build this after the product? Then comes the business development process. How can you build this up? Where can you place this? What market are you looking for? What are possible, revenues you can generate, or how can you cost this? That kind of thing. So we are hoping, because we've put them through an application with Technology Innovation Agency under the Grassroots Innovation program. Again, they're the only under 18s in that program. Hopefully, we're giving a go ahead so that they can get a bit of funding, so that they can continue working on their prototypes. So it's been amazing, man. And that program, I think in all of the concepts that we've brought through, that is the closest to our hearts, because we know the impact of having a couple hundred in South Africa, with such a school of thought and coming into society, not to beg from government and not to say we're going to go on the side of the road, hashtag hire graduate,
Yeah,
kind of thing.
yeah,
It's we want young people who are going to say, this is what I have.
sure.
I'm going to use the little that I have in order to advance society
Yeah,
and create opportunities for myself and possibly for those around me.
sure, sure. And then, what's the age group that you start? So I've got a 5-year-old and a 6-year-old. By I qualify, and 5-year-old. That one is so, but
Niyasihlupha nina bazali with 5-year-olds, 6-year-olds. No, mntanami uhlakaniphile, ngicela nimthathe bakithi. Like all kids are smart, all kids are intelligent. What do you mean, mama?
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, so we start at age 8, age 8, up until age 14.
Okay.
But let me just say this. The growth of this operation, in my view, is when obviously we still work with 18 and then plus and all of that on other projects, but the academy itself just focuses on 18, 14. But the growth of the academy is then where we start to also have a program for 5-year-olds, for 6-year-olds, and then obviously would go further to 4-year-olds, to 3-year-olds. There's something huge happening in East Asia. They intentionally want to make their babies super smart babies because they want them to establish technology companies. So they start them from age 1 and age 2 actually, and they start like introducing them to technologies and robotics, obviously slowly and that kind of thing. But they starting there. And for me, I'm like, okay, cool. That's essentially what we'd want to do. If as we grow, we go all the way through up until possibly even when the child is still in the womb, even possibly in the very near future. That's where we'd want to start, so that we can start influencing. Which obviously there's lots of research that backs this up to say that a lot of the influence starts from inception. Actually, it starts from inception. So again, if you're a mom, you're pregnant and you're doing all sorts of things, the child is influenced and takes all of those things in. And it's one of the things that, again, our people need to be enlightened about. We need to raise awareness about these things, to say you need to be careful, you need to protect this seed, so that when eventually it comes out, then we can then as I said, protect it, nurture it, and we ensure that we maximize opportunities as much as we possibly can.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. And then, is it only based the case at Enowa Manje, or to us Gauteng people from the Western Cape?
But Gauteng,
Yeah,
they started hitting us. They started hitting me up in 2019, 2020. Actually, messages
wow.
would come in. Hey,
Yeah,
is there something like this? Well, to my knowledge, there isn't
yeah,
a robotics academy set up like ours. I don't know, but yeah, I've tried to search. So there isn't. But and hence we've been looking at. Actually, we need to now open up programs, obviously in a number of other regions. So we are currently working on Limpopo right now. Hopefully that happens in the next few months. But for Joburg, essentially is definitely next, because part of the reason why we're in Durban now was so that we get closer to Joburg, because we essentially we're one flight away. Richards Bay, to move from Richards Bay to Joburg is a nightmare. So then we figured, okay, how we can move to Joburg. Let's move to Durban first, do a work, and then from there it will be easy for us to connect, from Durban to Joburg. So possibly we're looking at 2023. Definitely, we're gonna have something for
sure.
Joburg as well as Pretoria.
Yeah, yeah. This is something that you guys are doing on your own. There's no government towards you, South Africa that's like.
You want to make me cry now?
I'm sure there's someone sitting at home with the, you know, I don't know, the like Department of must be some basic education and so forth. What
You
is
know,
the
so earlier on, I was watching an interview with Casper
yeah
on Metro FM and with Tibo Touch. I think the interview was done just before the Celeb City, the boxing fight. Casper struggled to get Department of Sports, of Arts and Culture, Sports and Recreation, whatever that is. They didn't fund such a massive, spectacle and such a massive movement for boxing in South Africa.
mm,
So I'm just trying to give people watching this and listening now, just to give the perspective that if obviously, I mean, Casper is Casper, and but I'm just saying if a person at that level is going to struggle to get support
yeah
from our government, then who are we? Yeah. So we've knocked on a lot of doors, man. We've knocked on a lot of doors.
yeah
Essentially it came down to, and then in the end, it's our dream, it's our passion, it's our purpose. We didn't do this for government. If they at some point they're interested, they know where to find us. Tinanje, we are going to focus on building with the little resources that we have.
sure.
Luckily, by the grace of the gods, some of the parents would also support this by throwing in donations, or doing stuff, whether maybe bring food for the kids, like that kind of thing. It's been that essentially. So it's other than that, or in private individuals, coming through, hey guys, here's some 10 guys, here's some
Yeah
20K, please, okay, use it, to buy equipment, that kind of thing. Or here's stock, here's the robotic, equipment, that kind of thing. And
yeah
contributions from it's been largely about that. But we were also we're not phased because we also understand that we are in the early stages of this. We've only
yeah
have like 3 to 4 years, and that's another thing. Our people don't understand that it takes 20 years, 30 years to actually get the business off the ground or the company off the ground. And if you look at a lot of the huge companies that inspire us today, and we're like, what? They
yeah
started in 1970, they started in 1976, what, 1980, and they're only popping, what, 5 years ago, 10 years ago. A lot of them are
yeah
only starting posting profits like 5 years, 10 years ago, that kind
sure.
of thing. So we need to appreciate the process. You can't come in 3 years later, you're crying about government and you're not being supported and you're throwing, tantrums. It takes time. We're building, we're learning through the process, we're tweaking as we go. We've gone through, pre-seed. We're going for seed, fundraising. Hopefully that is a success so that we can take again the business to the next level. It's a process, man.
Yeah.
So we need to respect the process, and so yeah.
Yeah and you've touched on a very maybe a sore point for a lot of people, the money side of things, and the reason why it is so point. Abantu abaningi, maybe they will look at the stuff that you post on your profile, your page, your social media platforms, right? And then that sort of creates a certain perception. Ne? Ukuthi, these guys are balling or Beraba posing nabo who's who and so forth. Do do you get a lot of that, based on those, I don't know, like, whatever you put, I've seen some of them, and with I think there's one that comes to mind. Kunabelungu la, yabo. So ethi, "Naku makebo, ube nabelungu."
Right,
But
sell out.
no,
He's a
but
sellout.
besides sellout, like subconsciously that translates money or whatever. Do you get those types of what do I call them? Backlash, yeah, backlash responses that then kind of open up a dialogue,
Yeah,
whether it's effective or not, in
yeah.
terms of maybe certain misunderstandings around what you do and
Mm,
where you are currently in terms of the realistic picture.
yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, definitely, man, for sure. I think one of the attacks that we would get is that we prioritize white kids.
yeah,
Um, and this comes from people outside of the academy. Maybe it's a comment on WhatsApp or things like that. And I would ignore those things. It's like, ah, man, But I think this year I started responding to those things. It's like,
yeah.
um, I mean, ever since we started, if I were to put into rands and cents the amount of money that we've put in for development of, in Black communities, I don't know, uh, I don't know. It's a couple of 100,000s, maybe possibly even maybe 1 million. um, you know, in terms of financial and non-financial resources that would intentionally, with a lot of passion and a lot of obsession, putting them into Black communities, because we understand the aspect of, if we are to see progress, we need to reduce the aspect of inequality. you know we need to focus on underprivileged communities as well. And one of those investments that we made as an organization was to buy a bus in 2020, and we converted that bus into a mobile technology hub. And the mission of that project is essentially to take it and open up access to technology education for the underprivileged. 150,000 rand went into that project, and a lot more money. When we take it, obviously, to those communities, diesel and all of that, and our time and all of that, and a lot of those initiatives we've never received. In fact, all of them we've never received funding for community initiatives. We've never received 10,000 rand, 20,000 rand, 50,000 rand for community work. So if a person now is going to see one or two photos or three photos and like, oh, Nina Vele, ni prioritize Velo, and it's like, do you know where we come from with this mission? Um, so our people need to stop broadcasting their ignorance, because it's largely fueled by ignorance of a person who doesn't want to take their time and understand the background, who they are talking to, or how much work has gone in to doing this or that, and all you're coming with is just a stupid comment. And Kona thought, it's like, okay, cool. So if you're saying we're prioritizing Abelungu, what are you doing when to ensure that we also prioritize Black people? Because you have a right for you to say, guys, here's 1,000 rand, here's 500 rand, here's 100 rands even, instead of me going to a Cubana, and spending 5,000 rand, 15,000 rand, and taking the bill, posting it online for me to brag and show that I've got all the money. Why not take at least a portion of that? I'm not saying don't go to Cubana, don't go to Conca, but in that 15, 20,000 rand, 50,000 rand, you can say, I'm just going to take 10,000 rand and I put into a mission and a movement that I know is doing something meaningful for my people. Your job is done. Your job is done. You don't have to do proposals and register organizations and all of that. No, you don't have to do that. Just pop in a bit of money, and support, or just buy stuff, just buy t-shirts, just buy food, just buy stuff and say, guys, the next mission that when are you guys going to this particular community? I'm going to you guys and on supporter. Here's what I'm coming with to the. So those are the things that those are the sort of conversations that we expect when people hit us up, instead of coming with just stupid comments fueled by ignorance.
Yeah, which is very unfortunate. I think before I take you to the next point, if someone is watching tonight and they want to align themselves or their resources with you, how do they go about doing that?
Oh, thank you, man. So people can reach out to me. No, maybe I'll share my details with you, my email address. But yeah, our website is engineeringforkids.club, engineeringforkids.club. You can just check out, and then our number is there. Also, our email, langa@algoatwork.org.za. But yeah, I'm also going to pop it up on your comment section as well for those who may want to reach out, or they can inbox me on Facebook, and then we can take the conversation to the next level. And maybe a person can say, hey, here's a particular community. I want to have a coding and a robotics program, maybe for 3 months, maybe for 6 months, maybe for a year. Can we go on a fundraising, initiative? Also, you don't have to have the money. Here's the thing. You don't have to have the money. You can say, let us go on a fundraising campaign for this particular community or for this particular school, so that we can ensure that we open up access as much as we possibly can to FOIA. So yeah, man.
Yeah. No, I like that. I like what Zibuse also says. Zibuse Kunene. I suppose as a people, we will have to fill in the gaps where government is failing us. I think also where we are not filling the gaps per se, we are doing the heavy lifting ourselves. So
yeah,
and you said
let me just say something to Uzibuse. It's a great comment, Uzibuse, and I think it's one of the things that we should start telling each other. Singabantu emphakathini ukuthi, let us forget about the savior, because the concept of government and us waiting for government comes from the concept of Black people waiting for a messiah who needs to come at a particular point in time of their lives and save them. So we need to stop that and say, again, what do we have as a people? We're not anywhere. Now, I mean, I've got a skill in this. I could, do this and that. Okay, when Yazi, by the way, I'm an accountant, so we could open up maybe clinics for entrepreneurs, on how they can manage their finances, So for sure, we really need to come together. We need to support each other. Abanye nabanye bazosithola ngendlela. So power to that.
That's true. That's true. Thanks for that, Langa. Just tell us maybe about the algorithm. The algorithm. Am I right now?
Yeah.
So night, guys. Sorry. Yeah.
That's fine, man. So algorithm lab essentially is a big dream, man. Essentially, when we think about it, when we envision it, it's a Google for Africa, not in the true sense of the word, as in we're gonna come up with Gmail or whatever, not in that way. But I'm just saying, in terms of its composition and makeup, it's a Google for Africa in that sense, that we want to focus on African technologies and African innovation. But essentially, for now, because it's a journey, man. It focuses on software development, developing apps, developing software systems for organization, focusing on digital transformation for organizations. That's a big passion of ours, where we work with organizations. We train, your staff on maybe the basics of, on digital strategy, for example, digital media, how you reposition yourself in the era of digital. We work with you in terms of the organizational culture, how we can introduce certain elements into your organization, maybe such as content marketing, podcasting, blogging. Content is a big part of our organization. We're currently working with one exciting college here in Durban, and it's quite an exciting long-term project and process where again we help them reposition themselves into the market, through offering education, insights, content into the market, and again upskilling, reskilling their workforce, because that's another element there, that people are losing jobs and not getting jobs, not because there's not jobs in the market. There's plenty of jobs in the market, but people are losing jobs because the workforce is not upskilling itself quickly enough so that it can adapt to the changes that are happening within the economy and within the respective organizations. And case in point is tellers, for example, in banks, and hence again they're being wiped out. So and it happens to such a point that people have a bad relationship. We have got a tension with technology, such that they hate technology, they hate robots, because they understand that robots and robotics or 4AR is here to take people's jobs, which is not true. Changes have always happened in society, since the beginning of time. The changes are constant. But we work with organizations so that we can protect those jobs, and on the other hand, ensure that the organization can keep up with the changes, in the current economic landscape. So Algorithm Lab focuses largely on that, and again, as I said, those training, skills training programs for workers and for organizations.
Oh, okay. It sounds like a conversation we need to have offline.
With pleasure, my brother.
Oh, man. I think before Nikulula Nota, I just want to check. You mentioned earlier, we listen over just a bit now on the music side of things. Is this something that or is it incorporated somehow? Algorithm.
Algorithm Lab. I don't know why. I don't know why you Dak is struggling with this. It's such an easy name.
No, Mina, it's just that time of the night.
Music, no. But sound, yes. And that's where the podcasting element, comes in. So we still have a podcast. We just need to get back to it. We haven't released in a while, with the kids, where they podcast. It's called Robots in the Future, and hence I request that we change the show to Robots in the Future. So they've got a podcast on engineeringforkids.club, which is our website, our platform. So that's largely where it comes in, the aspect of sound and basically through content or videos and things like that. I've been slacking. I was pushing podcasting seriously 2018, 2019. We were pushing it, and then we kind of got tired because to monetize it at the time was virtually impossible. It hadn't picked up in South Africa. So when the guys started pushing Omashudu and them, from there I was like, oh man, okay, now this is the time. But from there, I think I've been dealing with anxiety. I don't know, Nyasaba Manjubuyela on podcasting for some reason. So I've really been trying to go get back to it. But yeah, we've got the equipment, we've got the microphones and all of that, which is essentially ready for us to get back to it and share the knowledge and the skills and the little information that we have. So that's essentially where it is right now. Music, I still listen to deep house music, lounge, but yeah, it doesn't really feature in the work that we do at all.
Yeah. So I return the piano.
No. But I think they're doing great though now. With the with the vocals. I think I struggled when it was just instrumentals because I was like,
Yeah.
man, this thing is monotonous. But with the vocals, it brings that quieter element to it, which is really cool. So the guys are really doing great. So there's quite a number of really great songs. But generally, I'm not listening to amapiano, no ways.
Yeah. No, I'm only teasing. I came across a meme, I think last night. I forgot what it depicts, but it's more like abantu be deep house, abazwani namapiano at all. So that's what
It's so true. It's so true because this is the thing about deep house they are particular with taste, with quality, with style, So if it's about sound, then I'm gonna really listen to the vocals, to the mixing, the mastering. I'm like, hey, ngathi lama vocals are masterang kahle ngathi lento yenziwe nje
yeah,
yabo kwi Pentium 1 kind of thing,
yeah,
So that's I think it's not necessarily that we are classist per se. We just love and appreciate great products and great quality.
yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah, no, that's dope, man. Thanks, man, for your time. I think just before we call it a night, just a parting shot.
Sekuyaphela njalo.
Okay, abakufundi lapha ekhaya uthini No, man. Someone is sitting and something again I noticed, Awuthi, some people, and just to go back to that reference to how people perceive you, ne? Not you as in when in particular, but just people based on social media posts, right? Bayabona ukuthi, okay, this is what you post. Also babheka ukuthi amagama wakho wahlanganisa kanjani, so they're like, okay, lo muntu lo isilungu uyasibambile kamnandi ngathi ufundile and ukhuluma ngama-coding and those types of things. Now they see you here, bayakuzwa, bayakubona, do you understand? And I think I just want you to in a relatable way as possible, ukuthi, how does, maybe there's a kid, and I say this Gamabom because I do have, for instance, one of my friends on Facebook, I think he's about, I'm sure not 19 years old or so. And he said something to me once when I asked him to come to the market before lockdown. He came to one of our markets, saw the activities. I didn't prime him, Uguti, this is what you must look for or whatever. But just him being there and seeing black traders selling different products, being excited for him, it was such a big deal that he kept on coming to me. I didn't know what kunabotaki abayenza into ezikanje nakanje. Oh, this is like Jonas. So the more I was observing that whole reaction, for me, at that point in Itata for granted because I've been there since 2016. But I'm there on savings, and just to make that sure that the whole event becomes a success. Someone might have listened, maybe had one or two things that you've said. They like, I would like to walk the path that Ulanga has walked. It won't be every step because they've got their own makeup, their brain is wired their own way, etc. But they think it's impossible for whatever reason. What do you say to them to say, and like guiding now and maybe even more than what you've done,
Yeah, man, that's such a difficult question. Okay, let me just say, obviously, there's no one formula of going about this, but one great start is for you to study. So here's my process. My process is YouTube. I spend a great deal of time on YouTube, whether I could be listening to a 2-hour conversation or interview, where they're interviewing Elon Musk or Jeff Bezos or Mark Zuckerberg, you know, or Larry Ellison, you know, or Larry Page, you know, from Google, you know. So I focus a lot on listening and trying to observe and understand how these guys think and their thought process and how they approach things and why they take certain decisions that they take at particular stages of their lives and journey. So that's one thing that I do. And then obviously there will be those interviews. You can also check out documentaries. Documentaries are also a great resource for you to get a behind the scenes perspective of you know, of things. Netflix is your friend. Tons of documentaries there. 3D Print the Legend. You know, it's quite a number. I can't really remember them because I haven't watched them in a while. But yeah, there's, just check for documentaries on Tesla, on SpaceX. You know, there's a bunch of content around that. And then the other one would be podcasts. So it's either you're on Spotify or you are on Apple Podcasts. Is again an abundance of podcasts on tech. Again, they're interviewing these great guys, you know, startup founders, you know, they're talking about products, you know. So, you know, as you listen to these guys, then you start getting ideas, you know, of some of the things that, not necessarily that you're going to copy what they say, but, you know, you start to get influences, you know, maybe listen and you sleep. When you wake up with something, you know what I mean, that kind of thing. Because as you listen and certain things that you pick up and your brain processes them and you try maybe to bring them to your reality and you're like, okay, so here's how I can localize this approach, this philosophy. Because what is important is not necessarily the technicals, as in what they do, but it's in how they do it. If you want to understand the philosophy, the culture, the ideology, that's what you want to focus on. And then the other great resource is reading. Medium. So check out medium.com. Again, a bunch of blogs that you can read, 2-minute blogs, 5-minute blogs, you know, and people are like, yeah, I mean, phone. It's like, dog, but you're always on Facebook. You're always reading people's statuses. You're always on Twitter. What do you mean? You know, you're always reading. Like, if you've got a phone, you've got a smartphone, you always, you love reading, actually. You know,
Sure.
It's just a case of what do you spend your time, you know, on. If you are reading, what are you reading? You should ask yourself a question. And sometimes you don't even have to go far, by the way. You can just start cleaning your timeline, unfollowing people that bring just memes and jokes and trashy stuff in your timeline. Just by cleaning up your timeline and having people who are always posting like progressive things about their businesses, they're posting about their thoughts, about their perspectives, you know, they're debating or whatever, they're sharing those perspectives. You learn a lot of, you know, you take a lot from that. You read, you need to read also, you know, papers, studies, research papers, again, that have focused maybe into the future, what's going to happen in the next 5 years, what's going to happen in the next 10 years, into the job market, what are some of the careers that you should look at, you know, studies about your community or about South Africa, what's happening maybe in crime, what's happening, you know, in education, what's happening in the security industry. Again, you know, so if you start to bundle all of these different sources of information and knowledge, and then, you know, there's a point where it's all going to meet, and that's where you get your big idea. Which, oh man, crime. I heard something ngilalele podcast ukuthi kune technology eyenza ukuthi now you are now investigating and researching about that particular technology ukuthi how can you bring it as a solution to the problem that, you know, you were identifying in that paper that you were reading yesterday or last week, you know. So essentially that's the process. You need to read a lot, you watch a lot, you listen a lot, you listen to great people, and you surround yourself with great people in your life and in your circle. If you want to shayis puzo over the weekend, that's all good and fine, but it would be great to shayis puzo with a mzuzugile kind of thing, you know, with a Langa, you know, because, you know, whatever, you're picking the conversation and nikhuluma about the state of the economy, you know, the state of politics in South Africa, the Africa free trade, you know, policy, you know, that kind of thing. So for me, I think that's what I want to encourage you. It doesn't mean that go register a course. Actually, registering a course is the last thing that you want to do right now. But there's tons of resources. Tap into them. Get on Twitter. Please, Twitter is not toxic. It's the people that you follow. There's a lot of great threads. One of my big resources is Twitter. I'm following a lot of guys in the tech space, investors, VCs, you know, kind of guys. They're sharing a lot of information that helps me, you know, change my perspective every day. Actually, I'm like, oh, okay, so here's how we can position our business, or here's a particular market that we can look at for the, you know, okay, so this is the place that I can travel to next, and this is the person, you know, potential person I can meet up with. Actually, there was Lomdu Cape Town or Lose Kinshasa. Okay, you know, that kind of thing. It's a networking platform, and let's take advantage of those for our benefit and for our growth.
And people are within reach. Do you know a guy called Stafford Macy?
I don't. How do I write his name? Let me just check now.
STAFFORD.
FFORD. Yes.
Macy, MASIE.
Okay. Now I'm gonna come board member. NED Discovery Limited.
Maybe wrong. It's in what I'm told. So this guy, he was the first CEO Google Africa when they opened the office or in the continent, ne?
Yeah, I think we're in because now Discovery Bank and CSIR board, Bitcoin.
Yeah.
Actually, I'm getting on Twitter to follow him. Yeah. What about him?
Yeah, this guy. Yeah, I'm sure weird. I was not aware since I was discovered. This guy. So I read up about him because he made a feature we magazine that I used to buy as a habit. This is 2000 and I think around 2012, 2013, thereabout. And next thing, Ngimthola 702 by an interview about the tail end, you know, and then as part of his interview, that they were like, okay, if people want to reach you, you know, Bazothola, he dropped his email account, which was a Gmail address. And I memorized a quick fast. I sent the guy an email, possibly about a week or two later. Ne? At the time, I had an idea.
What year was this?
This is, how old was my daughter? This is 20. This is before BrownSense, so I'm talking 2013.
Damn.
Around 2013, maybe 14. So, an idea, app or some technical whatever, which was basically inspired by. So my firstborn, when she was much younger, you know, when you're a first parent, first time parent, I mean, umntwana makagula ebusuku, ne? Sometimes I think noma kuyinto encane you rush to a casualty ward of the nearest hospital. So umntwana temperature, whatever, we're like, hey, get into the car, take the baby to the hospital, and we always went to the same hospital, Parktown. And every time I went there, they gave me the same forms that I filled there. I don't know how many times before that I had been there. Like same form, my printer, everything the same. Sign here, sticker. So then they take out that brown file cover thing, the file reference, and that kind of stuff. So in my mind, I was like, but surely this information is stored somewhere.
Yeah, man. Yeah.
The only thing you need is my ID. Just authenticate my identity, medical aid number, which is also stored in your thing, in your database. So I shared this idea, how it can be done in a way that you don't spend so much time, you don't print a lot of documents, I don't complete forms. I sent it to Stafford via email. Actually, what he said to me was that Draw an idea on a napkin, take a picture, and then send it to me. So I in McDonald's, at one of their serviettes, I drew this diagram thing just to, make it sensible for him. This is what it's about. He looked at it. The guy gave me a detailed response. So, this is what you need to do. Regulatory, framework. You need to be aware of 1, 2, 3. These are the gaps that I see. Whatever. All the best, Barcelona. Like, and the point of the story is that this is someone who is clued up in that space, a wealth of experience and so forth, and he was willing to engage me. At the most, I'm sure he gave me, I would say, maybe 20, 30 minutes. Do you understand? Nine million, draw it on a napkin, take a picture, send it to me. He looks at it, types a response, all the best, and that's it. And the point is that, um, you know, people are accessible. There will be people no, I'm busy, I don't have time for you. Abanye bazokublue, but you'll get a Langa, you'll get a Stafford, you'll get somebody who's always willing to say, here's maybe not the detailed blueprint, but here's a starting point. This is what you need to look at. Um, all the best with your
Mm. Beautiful, man. Beautiful. Beautiful. Sorry, ngokuzwa ngendaba yamanapkin. Ngiyaqala. No, I'm like nginokuzwa ngayo, so I'm like, okay, I need to try that.
It's a thing. I got the impression when he said that, I was like, the way he said it, it reads like this is a thing. Maybe in Toyota Silicon Valley or whatever. I don't know.
Yeah. I think it is. Yeah, man. No, I think I need to interview you also. Because your story said BrownSense. I think it's a fascinating one. I'm sure there's a lot of stories and a lot of things that one can pick up also in that. But yeah, man, props to you. I think I relate to some of the the things that you go through and some of the struggles. But no one can take away the fact that you've built something great, and year on year, say Bonia cooler, it is there. You're not about the hype or about the noise. You're just about substance and impact, and yeah, man, that's just amazing. And as I was sharing earlier with you, really would want to would really would want us to work on growing it for the long term and ensuring that generations upon generations can reap these rewards, and they have systems, they have the structures for them to build upon, so that they can build something even greater than us. So yeah, man. So yeah, really looking forward to that, and yeah, all the best for the future.
Thanks, man. You too. I'm looking forward to your invitation for you to interview me, and then we can.
Yes. Yes, I've got a guest. Thank you so much, brother.
Thank you.
And you still owe me a debate on Operation Tutula, by the way.
We can arrange that here or on your side. I'm easy. Necklace is something rate
No, thank you so much, brother. And by the way, also, what is inspirational about you is your father. What do we call this? Indaba yakho yokukhulisa abantwana, like your stories always. Yeah, that is also something really, really great and something really, really cool. The love you have for abantwana bakho, and I know, like, it's something crazy. We need to kumele celebrate, you know. But I mean, again, we come from a society where amajita, they are not growing iy'ngane zabo, they're not nurturing iy'ngane zabo, grooming iy'ngane zabo, iy'ngane ikhuliswa estradi. So when you see someone like yourself, it's something worth noting, and it's something that's really beautiful to witness, actually. And that's something really, really great.
No, man, thank you. I appreciate ngiyabonga kakhulu mfethu.
Mfethu. Akunenkinga babusoni, ngiyabonga kakhulu. Asekukhulule ukwazi ukuthi uqhubeke nemsebenzi ekhaya baba.
Sharp, until next time, ne?
Thank you so much, brother. Thank you. Blessings.
Thanks, Sharp. Bye-bye. Thanks everyone. We'll see you next week, same time.